This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Make another smart choice with Auto Quote Explorer to compare rates from multiple car insurance companies all at once. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
A mochi moment from Mark, who writes, I just want to thank you for making GLP-1s affordable. What would have been over $1,000 a month is just $99 a month with Mochi. Money shouldn't be a barrier to healthy weight. 3 months in, and I have smaller jeans and a bigger wallet. You're the best. Thanks, Mark. I'm Myra Ahmed, founder of Mochi Health. To find your Mochi moment, visit joinmochi.com.
Mark is a Mochi member compensated for his story.
Welcome back to another episode of Investies. I'm your host, Linda Garcia, Texas State Representative and author of the book Wealth Warrior. This week, we are continuing with our series. We are highlighting the most important episodes of the last 13 months. I wanted to make sure that we take the time to reflect on the most important and critical movements in the market so that we can also reflect on our portfolios. In last week's episode, we covered one of the most pivotal moments in the stock market, the election of Donald Trump as president for this election cycle. I do want to preface this by saying that the impact that Donald Trump has had in the stock market is not one that is normal. And this is why I wanted to make sure to highlight these pivotal moments so that we can analyze and reflect. The impact that he has had on the market is not one that past presidents have ever had. And so this brings us into this week's episode as we experienced a crazy run on the stock market. Before we get into this week's episode, I wanted to let you know that on Patreon in January of 2026, I am bringing back the Abundance Plan Reimagined. Since 2020, I have hosted what we call the Abundance Plan, which is a way to reflect emotionally on money and identify how we are currently experiencing money and how that is impacting not only our decisions about money, but how we are currently generating money and how our beliefs on money can be currently limiting us of generating more money. This has been an all-time fan favorite, and I am so excited to bring it back for January of 2026. If you want to join us for the Abundance Plan Reimagined, which is a program that lasts approximately 2 months, head over to patreon.com/investies and join us on the exchange tier. Enjoy this week's episode from November 15th of 2024. Investies, the market is reaching new all-time highs every single day. The growth that we have seen is astronomical. We are for sure feeling euphoric in the market, which is always a time to be extremely cautious. A lot of people naturally want to buy into the market during this time. This really isn't a time to buy in. This is a time to celebrate the investments that you've made, watch them increase. Anytime there is euphoria at this level, we should always be anticipating a pullback. Now, I am recording this episode relatively early, so a lot can take place from today up until when you actually hear this episode and it is published. As you know, I record my episodes on Wednesdays. It is Monday, November 11th. I do have a really packed week. I'm headed to Austin this evening, and I have several meetings out there for the next few days. I rush back on Thursday to go listen to Fed Chair Powell speak live here in Dallas. I am super excited for getting to listen to him speak live. I'm excited for the things that he has to potentially say in terms of the future of monetary policy, especially with this shift in transition of power. Just to put this into perspective, there is not a person famous enough on planet Earth that could make me this excited. Now, this could be because I am somewhat jaded. I did work in Hollywood. I got to be in close proximity and in some cases work with A-list actors. I mean, I was at a wedding not that long ago with 150 people, and one of those guests was Bad Bunny. I got to dance next to him on the dance floor. So I don't know. It could just be that I'm extremely jaded. But when I was told that I would get to attend this meeting, and I'm still having conversations on whether I can actually meet him in person, I started crying. That is how freaking excited I am to get to hear him speak live. This is a really big deal for me right now at this moment in my life. I do have crazy dreams or goals to one day potentially impact monetary policy on a federal level. I think it's just about where I am in my life. I really admire what Fed Chair Powell has been able to do. I have watched him extremely closely as he navigated COVID, as he navigated inflation. And a lot of people don't understand this, but Fed Chair Powell's position is hands down the most powerful position in the world. A lot of folks, because they don't understand how economics works, don't really credit or may find it easy to dismiss the chairman of the Federal Reserve. But it's important for us to know that the Federal Reserve controls the money, and the money controls everything else. I will be sure to share with you on next week's episode any key points that he discussed, anything that I found interesting that stood out to me. So stay tuned for that.
It's that time of year again when you start arranging pumpkins on the stoop. Try out a new cranberry sauce recipe and plan out a tablescape that'll outdo last year's. In other words, it's when you break out all your DIY holiday skills. And now, ADT is making it easy to DIY your home security too. Their systems aren't just simple to set up, they also fit within your budget. So get excited for your next project, because your peace of mind just went DIY. Visit ADT.com or call 1-800-ADT-ASAP. When every second counts, count on ADT. DSW, Designer Shoe Warehouse, is the one-stop shop for all your footwear needs. With sneakers, boots, and everything in between for every style, mood, and occasion, you'll definitely find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. DSW has what you need, but more importantly, they have what you didn't even know you wanted. You never know what you'll find at DSW. Find the shoes that get you at prices that get your budget at DSW stores or DSW.com.
Moving on to the market, I do want to get a bit more granular on why we have seen explosive growth, because the growth has continued not just over the last 3 months, but after we received confirmation on the election of Trump, we saw a huge jump up. And then every day since then, we have seen new all-time highs. There has to be something more than just the election and the confirmation of the election, and I want to talk about that next. Trump has promised that he is going to fire Gary Gensler. Gary Gensler is the chair of the Securities and Exchange Commission, also known as the SEC. The Securities and Exchange Commission is an independent agency of the United States federal government. It was created in order to protect investors and ensure the integrity of the market. So its job is to prevent market manipulation. This agency was created back in 1929. in the aftermath of the Wall Street crash when there was a lot of market manipulation taking place. One of the biggest reasons why Gary Gensler has been targeted is because of the criticism over how he has handled cryptocurrency regulation. He has been called the innovation killer of cryptocurrency. Back in September, the Compliance and Corporate Affairs Officer of Robinhood Markets, Dan Gallagher, spoke before Congress, and this is what he had to say. The SEC has engaged in regulation by enforcement, which is bad for American consumers who want greater access to digital assets. It's bad for the innovation in the blockchain and digital asset industries. It is bad for the already eroding and competitive position of the U.S. with regard to digital asset markets. From my personal perspective, I do feel that for some time, the SEC did make it a bit risky to be invested in crypto or to start a position in crypto because we were unsure on how crypto was going to be regulated, if it was going to be regulated. Despite me personally having a small investment in crypto, I have been warning against investing in crypto because I have been worried about what the SEC Commission was going to do in terms of regulating crypto. I've been talking about this for several years now. It's even in my book on the potential regulations. And so the removal of Gary and potentially putting someone in place that is not going to be a detriment to digital assets and could instead stimulate the innovation of assets is probably what's most likely going to happen. And so for this reason, we are seeing a very strong catalyst in Bitcoin, which has also reached new all-time highs. As of recording this on Monday, November 11th, Bitcoin is at $86,000. So the Trump election is not only impacting the stock market, it's also impacting Bitcoin. But we can circle all of that back around to the stock market because now we have stocks like Coinbase, like Robinhood, like the Cathie Wood stocks that have now also benefited off of this catalyst. I don't know that I've ever mentioned Catherine Wood on this podcast. I want to say that I probably have not. I used to talk about Cathie Wood a lot. Cathie Wood is someone that we continuously discussed in my Patreon group, In Lose We Trust, where we would talk about specific stocks and their potential. Cathie Wood is actually one of my absolute favorite analysts. She is also the founder of ARK Invest, which has different ETFs that you can invest into. An ETF is a basket of stocks versus just investing into one stock. Specifically, you can invest into a basket of stocks. Now, Cathie Wood, as an analyst, has had a very interesting track record. She was one of the first analysts to accurately predict where the future of Tesla stock would be. She was made fun of for her prediction, but she saw something really important that a lot of analysts in the industry were unable to see. And what she saw was the inability of someone that is solely focused on financials to be able to predict the future value of a technology company. This was such a revolutionary moment to me personally in the market because she understood that unless you are an engineer, unless you are a scientist, it's going to be very difficult for you to quantify the actual value of a tech company that is publicly traded. And so she began to hire engineers. She began to hire people that really understood the tech sector to help quantify the future of a company and where it was headed, its ability to potentially achieve what the company is promising to achieve. As I mentioned earlier, Cathie Wood was made fun of. She was ridiculed. She's been called crazy. This has all been by, of course, a group of men that were unable to see her perspective or her vision. She ended up being right when it came to Tesla stock. Now, we are in the midst of her new predictions on where certain stocks are headed. She garnered almost like a cult following during COVID because of her prediction on Tesla, because of her being accurate on Tesla. So we did see a crazy increase in growth on some of the other stocks that she had been predicting price targets on. We did see a huge crash from those stocks, which I think was definitely merited because the type of growth that we saw during COVID was unsustainable. And so what we are seeing now is, I think, can I say the return of the Cathie Wood stocks? I don't know. I'm looking at my portfolio and I have to say that I am seeing ridiculous growth. I do feel that the growth I'm seeing in this portfolio is pretty unsustainable. It's definitely giving me 2020 vibes in terms of how a lot of these stocks were growing exponentially. I am definitely not a buyer here. If anything, I have spent the last, I would say even several months analyzing my portfolio. In just the last several months since September, I have been selling out of some stocks. I have sold out of $50,000 worth of stocks. I am going to continue selling into the new year. I am going to potentially work on creating some stop losses in my portfolio so that I can lock in some of the gains that I have had. Really quickly, for our newer investors, what stop losses are. It is a safeguard that you can put in place in your portfolio where the portfolio will be set to sell any stocks if it hits a specific number. So let's say, for example, that a share is currently trading at $100, just to make this easy. And I set a stop loss for $89. And what I'm telling my portfolio is that if the stock goes down to $89 or below, I want you to immediately sell me out. Without me having to be present, my portfolio will sell me out of the stock if it hits that low number. So I am currently reviewing my portfolio and potentially putting in some stop losses. Now, these are investments that I have been invested into for a really long time. This is also a way to just safeguard the exponential growth that I've had. That money will then be set aside and I will wait for an opportunity to buy back into the market. One thing about the market that I've learned is that it's always going to correct itself. And so I will most likely wait for a correction so I can start buying back in. I'm not a buyer here. I am just going to enjoy the growth that I have had and protect my growth. For some stocks and for other stocks, just continue to hold and let them ride. My portfolio is up another 10,000 this morning. It feels like every time I wake up, it's up another 10, 15,000 every day, which is really crazy. So just to share and give you a little bit of perspective on my portfolio, when I'm looking at the percentage in growth in just the last 3 months, and why I want to protect it and why I'm looking at stop losses at this point in my portfolio's maturity is because I have reached growth of 136% in just the last 3 months. 136% in just the last 3 months. Since that low in August, that is how much my portfolio has grown. And so it's time for me to protect some of that growth. Again, I know that what comes up must go down. And so I just want to protect some of that growth that I've had so that I could take advantage of the market coming down. I really, truly hope that if you are listening to me right now on this podcast on Investies, that you have a portfolio and that you have begun investing into the stock market. I can't express enough how important it is to be a direct owner in the products that we are already consuming. If you haven't started, then I highly recommend that you purchase my book, Wealth Warrior. You can find the book at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your local bookstore. You could even get the book on Audible or wherever you purchase audiobooks. It's an easy how to get started. I appreciate you all. Thank you for listening to Investies. I'm your host, Linda Garcia. This is a Cosmic Standard and In Lose We Trust production. A special thank you to the team, Asia Simpson, Eliza Smith, and Jacob Winnick.
If you're feeling exhausted, puffy, anxious, foggy, gaining weight, or just not like yourself, you're not imagining it. Women in their 30s, 40s, and 50s are experiencing massive hormonal shifts, and no one is explaining what's actually happening. I'm Cathie Wood, co-founder of Joy. I built Joy because I lived this. The fatigue, the mood swings, the weight changes, the confusion. Your symptoms are biological, not personal. And AI-generated lab reports won't fix them. Every Joy lab includes a visit with a licensed clinician who specializes in women's hormones and connects every biomarker to how you feel. Energy, metabolism, mood, sleep, skin, weight, everything. Then, we personalize real solutions: hormone therapy, peptide therapy, supplements, and lifestyle protocols. Get started at joyandblokes.com today. This month, new customers get 50% off labs, and you can add our estrogen face cream for just $1 with clinician approval. Use promo code PODCAST at joyandblokes.com.